Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and this is Major History. I thought it would be cool if today I went through my textbooks and I went through the Amazon reviews, which some of these are pretty funny. So uh, the first one is Perspectives from the Past. This one is uh, for my Western Civilizations class. I actually have two textbooks for this class, so um, which is strange. But then I saw that this one actually says that it's primary sources, so I'm assuming I'm gonna have to go in these and read some of the primary sources on subjects and whatever. So like if there was a poem I had to read that someone wrote, it would be in here and not in my primary textbook. But let's look at some of the reviews here. Most of the positive reviews were saying that they got it had nothing to do with the book itself. Um, but Bao Fam up here says the product is as advertised. This person says it came in great condition and they got it for their sister's class. So thankful it came quickly. Good price and good condition, says Amazon customer. Very nice. But then there's this person. I don't think they knew the product that they were reviewing. I think because they say love these darts and Jo. I mean, 5-star review. They love the darts that they received. I don't know if that's what they purchased. You know, these darts are great and feel great, they say. Well, I hope that um they like the book as well. I mean, I just wish I could have gotten their opinions on that, but yeah. Okay. So most negative reviews for so I got lost in my own slides here. Um Most negative reviews looked like this. There weren't many. There was only one negative review on Amazon, so I had to go to Goodreads for this one. But this one says is from B, and they say missing a chapter. Missing a chapter, but the quality of the paper is good. Oh, at least we have good quality paper. You can highlight one side and it won't bleed onto the next page. Also, the cover is in pretty good is it pretty decent at protection. Good for them. They posted a picture of their textbook. I couldn't be bothered to look at it. Sarah on Goodreads, with 194 reviews and 2 loyal followers, says, with their 3-star review, they say, well, I can't say much on this particular book. I liked it and disliked it at the same time. Why? Some of the readings were hard to understand. Others were just plain boring, which I get. It's history. It can be boring. But at the same time, more interesting sources could have been picked for students. A, a bizarre take that if if there were more interesting sources, they would have picked those. Not necessarily because they were more relevant to the content that they were researching, but just because they want more um, student interaction. And it seems that this is going to be a theme for a lot of the books that are here. It seems that these kids are taking Western civilization and world civilization and stuff, not because they're majoring in history, but because they are taking another class that requires the book that like is you'll see later on somebody says that the book was inappropriate for the class that they were in. I was like, what? So anyway, their conclusion is, I'll admit I had a hard time in the class. I had to read this book for, so most likely. Oh wait, hold on. That sentence is all effed up. So most likely I'll avoid rereading this book. If you're going to go be a historian and are interested, kudos to you. I wish you the best while you read all of this. So their main complaint is that it's boring and that it's a long book. Maybe they shouldn't have been in a history class. Anyway, the next book is a brief Western civilizations book. This book is like hundreds of pages long. Just by the way, just want to make that clear. It's brief, but it's pretty long. Um, and this is from two of the same people that worked on the primary sources book. There are a ton more people involved in the primary sources book from earlier. This one, yeah, you can see here Cole and Symes. So I'm interested to see the writing styles at least. From my understanding, this is where a lot of the teaching is going to be coming from, and then this one over here is going to be where we get our sources. Just as I said earlier. So some of the reviews, Introvert says, good timing. Uh, Sorry, I need to start from the beginning here. Introvert says broad and thorough view, and they reviewed this in 2023. They said good timing. I needed it within. I needed it within for a school project, which was due the same day it arrived. Oh, that's pretty cool. And they narrowly got through that one. It is a very thorough view of history. I don't agree with everything in it, which is you're right, history is more or less subjective. But since I've read so many history books that either are biased or full of slander, this one only differs dry facts and not someone's unadulterated opinion, which I do appreciate. So that's going to be another theme that you're going to see. Some people are very standoffish with the idea that history happens, and while there is some wiggle room, like, oh, here's this opinion, and other times it's like there are cold facts when it comes to history. So it's fun to see these people get so mad about certain things, and we'll see a little bit more of that later. But until then, Rhonda Slay says no page numbers, and they're upset that they got the book on a Kindle and it doesn't have any page numbers. And I looked at the book; it does have page numbers, so it's just a Kindle problem, I guess. So if you use in-text citations for this book at any time, you won't be able to cite it properly, which is great. 3 people found that helpful, by the way. Good for the course I was taking, says Chris Perez. He says, had a good amount of general knowledge needed to understand the events. At time, it could be hard for looking for specific details. So that's the problem with using a book. You have to read it to find details. Anyway, and then all the negative reviews were interesting because, all the positive reviews looked like this, but the negative reviews were scathing and so angry because they bought the book and received the front and back cover. This person bought this a couple months ago, and they said, Felipe Ribeiro says, scam. This is not a book. It is simply 2 pages, a cover and a publisher's note. I am struggling to report this issue and getting a refund. Hopefully this review got to you before you purchase this. Grace says, highway robbery. Don't buy. Shame, shame, shame. This is robbery at its best. Why would somebody pay $63 for 2 pages? 3 people found this helpful. Kindle customer says, don't buy. What's the point of getting the cover and a publisher's note? Got it for a class thinking it was the whole book. Need to return. 5 people found this useful. Justin says, don't buy. They got this in April this year, and they said, I just rented this book, and it's only the cover and the publisher's note. I submitted a report to Amazon, and they'll hopefully pull the book until the issue is resolved. Until then, don't waste your money or time. So I guess that just goes to show you should probably read the reviews before you buy books so that you don't get scammed like these people. Although it's not really their fault. You see a book listed on Amazon for $63, you're going to assume it's not going to be 2 pages. Thankfully, I got all my books. So anyway, the next book is The Human Record: Sources of Global History by Andrea Norfield. So this book is for my world history class now, and some of the reviews are pretty fun for this one. Lauren says 5 stars, pricey but interesting. Now we all know if we're in college that textbooks are pretty pricey, but that's her main complaint. But she still gives it 5 stars. I mean, she says it's really full of fascinating stories. I had to get this class for my university, but it turned out to be very informative, engaging, and interesting. The reading questions are great as well. and they help you to understand more about each story. Thank you for that, Lauren. Thiago, I hope that's how you say that name, leaves a 4-star review saying the sources it uses are pretty solid. The historical context is also pretty helpful. The sources it uses are pretty solid. The historical context is pretty helpful. I understood that from your title, Thiago. Okay, maybe calm down. Maybe you only write something once, please. Anyway, sorry, I got mad at him for a minute. Wish it had more maps. Usually have to use a different book altogether to get bearings straight. The bearings straight? Anyway, on the locations they are referencing from that time period. Yeah, I noticed that in the textbook as well. I looked in it, and yeah, it could be useful to have some maps in there. And one person found that helpful, and that was not me. But if I could, definitely, I would definitely put a little thing there. Anyway, there were these two very long, I say very long, paragraphs long, one paragraph long reviews from these two people. But other people just decided to keep it short and sweet. Like Saeed says, or said, in English, says 5-star review, 5 stars. I saw that from, you don't have to be redundant, Saeed, okay? And they say nice. But, you made up for it in your review here. Short and sweet, to the point. People in 2017, that was a different time altogether. And then you see that again in November 19th, 2020 from Alana Tendering. And she tenders a good review, a 3-star review, says good book, very interesting. See, now you can tell that this person is more verbose and thus less concise than Saeed. And I'm confused by their 3-star review here, which doesn't really make much sense because, they said good book, very interesting. I'm just wondering if there's a little bit more of a story here that could have been, detailed in a paragraph like from Thiago and Lauren, but that just wasn't the case, unfortunately. Now we can move on to most of the negative reviews, which look like this. Mei Lee says 2 stars, book has some damaged. Your brain has some damaged, my friend. You're not Englishing correctly. The bookbinder is damaged, they say. Okay. Gigi says, I received the wrong book. 1-star review. I attempted to rent volume 1 to 1500, but received volume 2 from 1500, which obviously I would be upset about that too if I received the wrong book. I'm assuming that this is an independent seller that was selling this because, that's a thing. And then Chan Wei Lin says 3-star review, bad quality, but it's still worth a price. Okay, that's why you left a 3-star review. You didn't like what the highlights and ripped pages and the worksheet that you found in the book. Oh my gosh, what a terrible time. Free highlighting. I mean, I guess the ripped pages would bring it down to a 3-star review for me. Okay, maybe I'm nitpicking. Bjorn here says, the only textbook I have ever seen without an index. No index, he says. This fact completely destroyed the value. The table of contents is also poorly laid out. And I have to disagree with Bjorn here. As a scholar myself, I took it upon myself to look at what the definition of an index was, and it says an alphabetical list of names, subjects, etc., with references to the places where they occur, typically found at the end of a book. While, that might be true, the book I looked, it doesn't have an index per se, but the table of contents is not poorly laid out, I would say. You look at the table of contents, it goes, pretty well into a bunch of stuff. It's actually separated into 3 parts here. It says, these are pictures that I took, by the way. I'm sorry if they don't look too well on YouTube compression, but, they say chapter 1 is on this page, and then all of the different segments of each. Like you have the mess. Okay, you're gonna have to deal with worse audio quality now because my headphones just decided to die out. Let me know what you think in the comments. Anyway, this person is saying that it's poorly laid out, but I'm looking at this. It has the chapters, the sections, the subheadings, and everything like that all neatly laid out.
And then you go to the next one here, and it's the geographic content. So you can even go by geographic region. You can say, oh, I want to learn more about Africa, and you can go to each section that covers that region. You have the Americas, the ancient Mediterranean, the Byzantium region, and that's pretty cool. I've never seen that anywhere else. And then you have the topical contents, which is even cooler in my opinion. It goes in depth in the table of contents into, like, you want to read about the Buddha, you can find that on page 78, and then you can read from there. And then you can, the headings are like death and the beyond. You can see where you can read about those, like that specific topic right here. And you can read about economics and diseases and healing and health. I think that this is actually much more helpful than an index. I mean, from the indexes that I've seen in my other textbook like this, I mean, you look at this, there's no headings, there's no nothing. It's just alphabetical order, and a lot of the times it's difficult to find what I'm looking for in here. And, I think that the extra help of having things like this listed, like, oh, I know that it's under Death and the Beyond, because this is real, like, basically religion and stuff. And then, I want to learn about economics or health. I can go straight to the topical contents and find what I'm looking for right there. So I think Byrne is going a little too far into the deep end with this one. I think he, if anybody knows a Byrne or Byrne out there, I think you need to give them a bonk on the noggin there, because they are simply not. I think they're a little lost in the sauce. They think that an index is the way to go with a book because that is how they have known it all their lives. But we are in the 21st century, my friend. I think three tables of contents is the way to go. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is my favorite way of seeing it. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these tables of contents. Anyway, my next one for my U.S. history class, I'm retaking U.S. history this year because when I took it last time, I was a high school student, and I hadn't hit puberty yet, and I wasn't very mature, and there were a lot of factors there. I hated school at the time, and I hadn't yet realized my passion for history. So I got a C in the class initially, when it came to history at first. So I'm retaking this class, and I'm taking it in strides here. This book is by Brands, Breen, Williams, and Gross, and it's American Stories: A History of the United States, Volume 1 to 1877. So this book, this is the first book I received, and I got it as a loose leaf thing from Amazon, and I got it shipped to me in a binder. And the binder's cover had some Sharpie written on it, and it said, "Please remove pages from binder before selling. It is supposed to be loose leaf pages." And I thought that that was great because, I got the book. There was some highlighting here and there, some underlining, and that's okay. I mean, that's just free notes for me. Free for me to know, like, what might be useful. I mean, you're gonna get that when you buy a used textbook anyway. But I thought it was pretty interesting that they really thought that Amazon would screen the packages. I mean, those poor underpaid workers are not even getting bathroom breaks. I don't know why you expect them to go above and beyond for you. Anyway, we go to the positive reviews, and we got quite a bit of reviews for this book. A lot of people saying it's good. It's a good book. This person says required dual credit U.S. History College course. Thank you, Tony. This person, Danielle, says this making my class go by faster. Um, I didn't realize that there was a flux capacitor in this book, but I'll have to keep reading to find out. This person says, great, concise, and narrative-like. Recommend for U.S. history. It's an excellent book to read, says Oral Scott. And then TK Mulholland says, 5 stars, it's readable. All right, okay. Now, there is this person in the center. They say, I need a address to return my book, but they gave it 5 stars. So are they returning the book because they're done with it and it's over? Did they think they were renting the book, or did they leave this review saying, "I hate this book, I want to return it," and then left that review without changing the amount of stars in the review? I guess we'll never know. Amazon customer will have to let me know in the comments down below what they were thinking about that. And then we go to the negative reviews here, and it's mostly about not having a access code from Valerie Alvarez, and then other people saying it's in poor condition, the pages were torn a little, and then Chris says poor quality print. I should say photocopied, because you look at these pictures, it actually does look photocopied. Um, which I don't know if I would be upset about it if I got a photocopied book. I mean, probably illegal, honestly. So somebody should probably look into that. Chris should probably be filing a lawsuit. They say the cover of or at least brands Green, Williams, and Gross should. They say the cover of the book looks great, but the pages are poorly printed. It looks as if the book was photocopied, and some of the pictures are distorted. So I am unable to see the details in the pictures. The page is blah 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 blah. You get the point, okay? But then there's this guy, okay? And this guy, there's a lot to look into with this just in general. So strap in. This is the climax of the video here. So if you're enjoying yourself, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, because I love history so much and I want to bring you along for the journey. So yeah, anyway, before classes started, I just wanted to get this video out, because I got my textbooks and I'm so excited. Anyway, Jason R. says it's more politically motivated propaganda than actual history. Now that's a pretty loaded statement and pretty typical of the time, so let's read it and let's see what's going on here. He says, I realize it's a course requirement for most people purchasing it, so you don't have a choice. But if you do have a choice, find something else. It's full of leftist, revisionist history. Basically, it just goes through the various reasons why America is evil and all the bad things that Americans have done. Typical. From chapter 1, which gives you a brief overview of the discovery and settling of the Americas, the Europeans were appalled by the American sacrifices of the Aztec. Apparently, they didn't find their own culture so detestable. It is completely biased and agenda-driven, says Jason R. Now, I took a look at chapter 1. I read chapter 1, and I thought it was actually pretty good. And one of the things in the book here is this statement at the very beginning. I think this is page 3 of chapter 1. And they say, history is recounted from the perspective of the victors, and that inevitably silences the voices of the victims, the peoples who, in the victors' view, foolishly resisted economic and technological progress, which I thought was a good way of showing how history can be distorted based on whoever wins the conflict. And in this case, this is from the European settlers encroaching on Native American land. And I thought that this was a pretty good chapter about it. And they also go into detail about other European tales of conquest and the millions of Africans sold in New Worlds as New World slaves. And yeah, I thought that this was, you get right off the bat, like, this is what this book is about. This is what you're going to be hearing a little bit more about what actually happened from a non-biased perspective, and stuff like that. So I actually I didn't put a page in it in the book, but or in the slides presentation, but I have it right here on page 6. This is where his scathing review comes from. Is I have this revised sentence that I think is what he was talking about here, Jason R. It goes as this: elaborate human sacrifice associated with Huitzilopochtli. I sincerely hope that I said that right. The Aztec sun god horrified Europeans who apparently did not find the savagery of their own civilization so detestable. And that's obviously the same sentence there, just revised in this new edition. And it's basically saying, pointing the finger back at the Europeans, um, while human sacrifice isn't great, you ought to be seeing what the Europeans were doing to the Native Americans at the time as well. I mean, they viewed them as lesser people. And, they, especially when they saw things like this, but they didn't look intrinsically at themselves and see like, oh, we have been massacring these people, like and spreading our own diseases towards them. We there's this one story I've heard where um to make the Americans look like heroes, they were going to Native American tribes and giving them blankets to help them during the winter, which was okay. They've been here for centuries. I think they know how to survive an American winter. Anyway, but they gave them these blankets, supposedly from the kindness of their heart, but they ended up being torn rags, and they were infested with the plague. Not necessarily the plague, but diseases that ended up um, massacring the Native American people. So you see that, and it's not too incredibly different, and obviously just this straight up murder that that happened on the Oregon Trail. So, and even in Europe itself at the time, people were, yeah, this is a dark time in history. People were killing people left and right. So, anyway, I want to end the video there on this pretty interesting thing. What do you think of Jason R's comment here? Tell me in the comments below what you thought Jason was. Do you think Jason is correct? Do you think Jason is wrong? And do you think that there's a middle ground here for Jason's opinion? Could he have had a little bit more of an open mind when it comes to the Americans? Do you think, because in my opinion, I'll say this right now, I don't know why Americans today try so hard to defend their ancestors. You were not there. You did not commit these atrocities. You should not feel the need to defend the people that were here initially, especially after knowing what they did. He calls this history revisionist, and I think that's a little strange. You can't revise history or rewrite history. History has always been a certain specific way, and we're only finding more evidence to this day and publicizing certain aspects of history to this day, finding more details out that gives us a broader picture. It's like science in that with evolution, people will often deny evolution because they think that because the story changes so much over the course of 10 years that how could the concept itself even make sense? But that's flawed because we're learning more, and that gives us a better picture of what the story is like. What may have been the best that humans could have come up with for knowledge 10 years ago is now a little bit of a laughing stock today because we have so much more information. Just 10 years can change the perspective of what you're learning about. So I wanted to make sure I covered that. Anyway, if you like this video, consider subscribing and liking and ringing that bell, making sure you get all of the notifications from my channel because school is starting up here on the 26th, and I'll be going to my first class on the 27th, so that's exciting. I'm going to be going to 2 classes in person this semester, and that's my Western Civilization course and my U.S. History course. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to be more or less giving lectures on the subject. Or maybe what I'll do for my first day is go through my syllabus with you guys. and show just basically what we're going to be learning about this semester, so I can share my journey with y'all. All right, so if you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'm so glad to have shared this video with you today. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.